This is a lesson on Marth Falco. What are your concerns in this matchup? What do you struggle with? Why'd you lose?
Uh, okay, so there are lots of reasons why I lose in this matchup, but
Hmm.
a few key scenarios that I struggle with in particular is edge guarding and ledge advantage scenarios. I feel very lost, especially when Falco is on the ledge. I have a difficult time figuring out where I should be spacing myself. Um, to account for, various factors such as ledge dash and double laser, and then also depending on the stage, going up to the side platform. Lots of options, and I'm not quite sure how best to situate myself to account for those scenarios. Um, as most people do, I struggle. Of course, covering side B. I've gotten a little bit better at that. To where instead of just outright losing, I instead get the clank instead. So that's a marginal improvement.
Wait, side B from the ledge or side B edge guarding?
Side B edge guarding.
Okay.
Side B from the ledge, I feel fine. I just shield and then wave dash punish that. Um, but of course I don't hit that all the time. That's really kind of what I struggle with. I feel okay in neutral, trying to mix up the take laser mix ups and using neutral air as well in neutral to catch like the startup of lasers. Um, I feel good with the combo game and tech chasing and the like too. Um, but yeah, it's mainly those where I'm in advantage. Again, similar to our discussion with the Sheik matchup. When I have advantage, I struggle to capitalize efficiently and effectively off of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, of all the things, as we've discussed, several times at this point, it's the edge guards and the ledge scenarios that matters the most.
Yes,
Because if you can't figure that out, how are you gonna ever kill Falco?
exactly. How are you ever gonna kill anyone?
Yeah, like kind of like how we discussed in Falcon. Like, yeah, the neutral game and like the neutral stuff is important to acknowledge,
Yes.
but if you can't cover side B, you're not gonna win against. Like, you might get away with it against like the lower level Falcos on unranked and all, and people around your level, but
Yeah.
against Bobby and
Yeah.
Ginger and all the other top Falcos, if
Exactly.
you can't cover side B, you're never going to win against them because
Yeah.
that's like 80% of Falco's recovery right there.
hmm
To be
Yeah.
frank.
It's something that I struggle a lot, and like as I said before, as I kind of improve and as I play better and better players as I get further in bracket, my old strategy of just sitting around waiting for my opponent to mess something up and let me kill them, it doesn't fly anymore. So I find myself having to
Yep.
really earn those kills now.
Yep, you do have to earn it like the
Yeah,
higher level you go. And
absolutely.
it is a habit that you will need to break, expecting the Falcon to just give you a stock.
Yeah,
That does work at lower levels, but yeah, obviously at higher levels that doesn't fly by. So let's
definitely.
discuss first and foremost the edge guarding, the one that's definitely the most important if you want to
Yep.
win against Falco. Which
hmm
I assume that's the goal, and many
Yep.
others as well. You just want to win, right?
Yes,
So
absolutely.
side B is a little bit more nuanced, and
Yep.
why don't we discuss what do you find yourself getting tripped up by side B from?
What do I find myself getting tripped up
Like just
by?
like the straight up like normal side B, like just trying to time a double jab side B, like no shorter, no
Yeah,
fancy positioning.
yeah, nothing fancy or anything. I find Falco's side being just like straight through me a lot of times. I end up mistiming the jab, and I think I'm too hung up on like reacting to it that I'm not actively preparing myself for the options that Falco has, if that makes sense. I'm so focused on reacting that I'm actually not preparing myself. Um, and like I hear the ping and I swipe, far too late, and the Falco gets a really juicy reversal off of me.
Well, that's funny
Um,
because you are supposed to react to side B. But what
Yeah.
I'm guessing is missing from you is maybe the priming component.
Yeah, that's what that's I think that's what I was trying to get at, is that I'm trying to react to the side B without priming myself to do that reaction.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to anticipate the answers.
Okay, yeah.
Right. And what is the answer?
To side B right through me is to double jab.
Right. So how do you feel about just doing a double jab right now?
I mean, if I picked up my GameCube controller, I could probably do a double jab, yeah.
No,
Uh,
I mean like suppose that Falco's about to side B right in front of your face.
right in front of my face. If it's right in front of my face, then that's pretty easy. But if they're a little bit further out, to the point where I actually have to time it with the movement of the phantasm, that's where I kind of mess up.
I would also like to
So,
offer another solution
yeah,
against double jab. Instead of double jab, you could also consider jump. Do you know the next word?
forwarder.
Yeah, jump fair.
Yeah.
Jump fair is also very, very good. And
Hmm.
arguably sometimes easier to do, and is necessary to do if they jump over your head.
Yeah, that's something that I noticed as well, is that they get that really ambiguous height where they're kind of just at your skull.
Yeah. So have
Yeah.
you ever used jump fair before?
Yes, I have. I've started using jump fair when I down tilt a Falco and they're at like 70 or 80. I down tilt them at the ledge, and they're forced to double jump to do their recovery. I kind of like short hop off the stage to threaten the sweet spot side B to fair that, and then I double jump back onto stage if I see them go above the ledge.
And
And that's when I would fair them if they try to side B through me there.
you just do you find yourself missing a lot with jump fair as well?
Um, I notice myself having a little bit more success when I go for the jump options, like the jump fair, for instance. If I try to cover the side B with jab or even a down tilt, sometimes I find myself having a far less success rate.
Yeah, I think it makes a little bit more sense that you're a little bit more successful with jump fair because you already are priming yourself. Like when you jump, you have to
Yeah,
fair. Whereas like
yeah,
it's a little bit more ambiguous when you're supposed to double jab.
yes, absolutely. Especially when I keep myself grounded like that, I'm aware of all of the options I potentially have, and I kind of get, choice paralysis basically, like oh geez, like based on my opponent's positioning, I have all of these options available to me, what should I do? But when I jump, I know basically my best option is going to be fair.
So you're more familiar with
Yes.
jump. Whereas if you're standing there, it's a little bit more, I guess, that choice paralysis, right?
Yes.
Okay. And also, before I go on, you do have Wasabi on, right? Like that's just a given.
Yes, I absolutely do. Yep, on both setups that I play on, I have Wasabi.
Yeah. Okay. Just making sure,
Mm.
because there's still a surprising amount of people that don't have Wasabi on. It's like, dude.
Yeah. I will shamefully admit that I was kind of a late adopter when it comes to Wasabi. Like only a couple months back did I start using it, but yeah, maybe that helped a little bit too.
Yeah. Okay. So, what do you think the solution is from here?
Man,
And how you could better implement double jab?
I think it's gonna have to come down to so some uncle punching it. I think just kind of talking it through, and just kind of recognizing that I'm more familiar with the jump fair scenario, because I do it a lot more. I think I just need to go into Uncle Punch and grind out those scenarios so I can recognize them more easily when they happen, and then that way I don't get stuck in that choice paralysis because everything still feels so ambiguous.
Yeah. Basically, the goal here is to reduce hesitation
Right.
because you are hesitating for some reason. That is such a bad spelling
Yeah.
of hesitation, but yeah, that is a goal. And when you simulate those scenarios to Uncle Punch, like, cause like what I'm hearing is that if you do hit jump fair, reactions is not the problem. it's the choice paralysis. It's not being familiar with the position that gets you stuck. So you gotta boot up that replay and Knuckle Punch. Maybe steal it from someone that Marth save state recording thing,
Definitely.
and just do it. Just like know that you have an answer, and you need to practice it as much as you can, like as much as you need. So then ultimately there's less hesitation.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I definitely find that
And since this is more
yeah.
of practicing execution at this point, we could also just grind it out on net play really really quick. Like I also offer like net play sessions for my lessons, so uh we could
That
just get on net play and just I'm gonna side B over and over until you get it.
that is a fantastic idea. I actually do not have my adapter at this setup. I have two setups that I play on, and this one I don't have my adapter on.
Yeah, but just
That
letting you know that is an
yeah,
option. Like if you
yeah, no,
find that
definitely.
the issue is like not being familiar with the position, because at the same time it also sounds like position unfamiliarity. Because like
Yes,
you don't
that as well.
because like you're like because like analysis choice paralysis means you're not familiar with the position because you can't choose an option,
Yes.
and when you do nothing you just auto lose.
Exactly, yeah. And that's what I find myself doing. I either do nothing or I do something so late because I'm like, oh shit, I have to do something. Then I just end up getting destroyed for it.
Right, and in a way this is pretty much like a very simple version of set shadow boxing,
Sure, yeah.
because like you're practicing a position with a proposed solution.
Hmm.
And then like when you see that side B, that's your cue to double jab. It's all about reacting to the cue.
Yeah. And I think again, it does come down to that paralysis as well because I'm not confident in my double jab, I end up looking for another solution, which ends up causing me to hesitate because I'm not confident in my own ability to execute on any of these options. Yeah,
I
so
will say that if for whatever reason you can't double jab, what do you think is a plan B? Because it is good to have plan Bs, but like you gotta also come up with a priority. Like you can't come up with it on the spot. You can't come up with
um
it on the spot right now. Like in the match, you're just gonna fail every time.
yeah, so I my instinct would be if I don't trust myself to be able to meet the side B with a hitbox, it would be to shield and then punish out a shield.
Yeah, okay. Sure. Yeah, I think that could cover some amount, but that does make it a lot harder. If you're playing, because presumably if you're using Plan B, you're not playing that well. And then
Right.
you're relying on your combo game, and that's like, that's okay, but what's something else? Something that's a little bit more lenient on the timing.
Maybe a forward tilt or
It's
even a
actually, it
forward
actually comes
smash.
out later. This one also
Oh,
comes out later too, but it's more convenient to
neutral
use.
B?
Yes, neutral B.
Okay.
It comes out later, but the hitbox comes out. It comes out longer. Like it's a little bit more lasting of a hitbox than jab.
Oh, okay, it's more persistent. Okay, I got it. Um, yeah, I think neutral B is definitely something that I should start considering for, more of my plan B situations. It's not something that I really utilize ever in my toolkit. So,
I will say
okay.
though, if it's up close, the read is required, which is why
Yeah.
this should be your plan B, not your plan A.
Okay.
So that's maybe something else to consider when you're practicing double jab. Is like, okay, if I'm not feeling well, then I gotta use neutral B. That's your plan B.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, that's definitely something that I struggle with too, is having both that plan A and that plan B as well. If my plan A isn't working out, I kind of just get frustrated and flustered, and I don't have anything to fall back on. So that's really helpful too.
Yeah, always have like some kind of like plan B or plan C of some sort, because
Hmm.
I'm not always playing my plan A. I'm not always in my A game. Oftentimes when I'm TOing and playing at the same time, like I have to bring out my C game,
Oh
and
yeah, so
sometimes that's enough to even
yeah,
beat top players.
yeah. The TO debuff is real.
sympathize with me.
Yeah, I know. I do. I empathize. I've definitely been there. Yeah. Okay.
But yes, that could be your plan B. And even having a plan B that works like 50% of the time, because it's not going to always work. But if it works
Right.
50% of the time, that's way better than like 0% of the time
Yeah, failing your plan A every time. Yeah.
of something that like has the most impact of this matchup.
Yeah.
Is if you're hitting your edge guards, you're gonna win against Falco. If you're
Yeah,
not,
definitely.
your chances just went down a lot, which is why like even though this is like very simplistic, like these all seem pretty simple answers, but this has the most impact, which is why I'm
Yeah.
emphasizing this.
Yeah, and that's especially why I wanted to emphasize it too, just because I'm able to find grabs, I'm able to find knockdowns, I'm able to find up tilts and up airs, but the part that I find myself consistently failing at is that very, very end part where I have the Falco off stage and he's trying for his life to get back on stage so he can do whatever to me, and I end up dropping these far more often. I probably hit like maybe 25% of my edge guards. I'm able to get something like out of it, like either a stock or refreshing the situation. And I feel like that's such a terrible rate for a
Hmm.
Marth versus a Spacey.
Yeah. So this is the first thing you need to work on versus
Yeah.
Falco. Um,
Okay.
let's talk about the ledge scenarios. Where to space? How do I deal with ledge dash? Double lasers, the side platforms. All very annoying options. And I'd say that's like the next important part. Like
Yeah.
I wouldn't say maybe it's not the second most important part, but it's very important and you're
Hmm.
struggling with that. So let's expound on that. So the ledge options. So you have trouble dealing with double lasers, uh, ledge dash, obviously. Do you
Hmm.
struggle with side B from ledge?
Um, I do, and I think that's because I'm positioning myself too close. I position myself too close to the ledge, and they hop up and they side B right through me.
Okay, that's important to acknowledge.
Yeah. If I have a hard read on the option that they're going for, then I feel very confident in covering that. But the issue is I struggle with the ambiguity and I struggle with Falcos that make it ambiguous as to what option they're going to pick. If I know they're going to double laser, then I'm able to cover that very, very efficiently, very effectively. If they try to side B through me, I'm able to cover that very effectively too. But it's being able to position myself in a way that I can kind of recognize each situation as it's happening. That's the main issue that I have. Like if I'm reading a double laser and they decide to side B through me, they're going to win that mix up 100% of the time.
Okay, so I'll address that, but after I know what answers to use specifically against each of these options. So like, or if you don't know, that's fine.
Hmm.
What answer do you use against double laser?
I like to crouch under the lasers and down tilt.
Crouch down tilt.
I like to do that a lot. I struggle a little bit more with the double lasers when the Falco does a good job of getting them at the same height.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Beats
if
your
they're
crouch.
Yeah, which beats the crouch. I struggle a little bit more in that situation if they're good at those double lasers. I kind of get flustered a little bit, and maybe I'll like try to jab them or something like that. Sometimes I try to power shield them, um, but for whatever reason, I find them really hard to power shield off the ledge.
Okay. All right. So what about ledge dash? What ledge dash options do you struggle with the most? You're
Um,
just too close.
yeah, so I find myself getting ledge dash shined a lot. What I try to do if they ledge dash, I try to wave dash back down tilt, or dash back grab. But some Falcos are really good at their ledge dash turnaround up tilts as well. So I primarily go for the wave dash back down tilts.
Okay. What about side B?
For side B, I like to shield it and then wave dash and forward smash up B. Maybe I'll grab if they're at a lower percent, so I can try and build up some percent or something like that.
Okay, and what about if they go to the side platform?
If they go to the side platform, I usually try to up air them, or maybe I'll try to like fade back a fair in case they get a shield out and they try to shield drop me.
Okay, so all like you have an answer for each one of them, but there is a problem here, and I want to see if you could relate it back to Edgeguards in a way because they do connect. Uh, do you know why MTK and Zane are so good at edgeguarding?
Why they are so good at edge guarding? Well, they
Because Spaceys, they do have a lot of options,
yeah
but yet, Zane and M2K, they cover a good amount of them. They cover like what
yeah.
seems to be all of them. Why? Are they reading them every time?
No, they're definitely not reading them 100% of the time. I don't know. Like I've watched them edge guard over and over. I try to pay attention to their spacing,
Space is part of it,
movement.
but it's part of the
Yeah,
broader theme. So if
yeah.
they're
Nothing
not
jumps to
reading
me
their
immediately.
minds literally every time, what
Mhm.
might be another logical explanation why they are covering so many options?
Um, because they themselves are they're like mixing up their positioning maybe to make a certain option look more safe than it really is. Kind of like baiting a
That's sort
recovery
of
option.
like that's like you're kind of skipping steps here. That's like
Okay.
an option like higher. That's like step two or three. You're still missing step one.
Um, is it because they're forcing the Falco to make a decision by like threatening them with like a hitbox or something? Maybe they're basically not giving the Falco the time to think on a decision. They're forcing them to make a decision right there.
Say those are the conditions. What
Is
does that
that
encap? What does that encapsulate?
what does that encapsulate?
It's definitely a lot simpler than you're making out to be.
Yeah,
Um,
I definitely find myself going too far deep into the
okay,
details.
so they are at a disadvantage, right?
Yes.
And they are at an advantage, right?
Hmm.
M2K and Zane, that is.
So they're just focusing on keeping that advantage then, correct? Like similar to how we spoke
Yes.
about Sheik at the ledge too, they're focusing on maintaining that advantage and using that advantage to create opportunities to get the kill.
I'm not going to say that's wrong, but there's something simpler than that.
Oh no. Thinking too hard, Redcoat. Uh Man, is it the disjoint?
So I'm gonna give you like one more clue. They're not reading them every time because they know how to say they play a random Falco, an
Hmm.
unranked. Why
Yeah.
are they able to cover a Falco, an unranked that doesn't know shit? Like they're not responding to anything.
Because of their habits.
They don't know their habits.
That's because they have repeated patterns, right?
They
Pattern
don't know the
recognition.
like they just throw them off stage and they are able
Okay.
to edge guard them anyways. Like the first 5 seconds in the match.
Oh.
There's no like player to player interaction. It's just
Oh,
solely
okay.
game mechanics.
Um, let's see. So there's no pattern recognition just because they're. I got this. I got this. Um, I mean, because they're looking to cover the most common options.
Bingo.
Okay, got
They are
it.
covering multiple options with
Yeah,
just like one option. They could
got it.
call out so many species because it just so happens that they are covering all of them at the same time. Now they can't cover every single option, obviously,
Hmm. But they can cover the
but
common ones.
yes,
Okay.
they are covering the common side Bs. They're covering the common, you know, stuff, and that's
Hmm.
why that sets them apart for why they are like above and beyond edge guarding than everyone else.
I see. I see. Okay.
And do you know what the problem with a lot of your ledge coverage?
All of the decisions that I'm making only cover that specific option that I'm trying to cover. I'm not doing anything that covers a wide variety of options.
Yes, there is. I could simplify this. I could simplify at least two, if not three, of those
Yeah.
options with
I have
like just one or two.
yeah, I have almost no common elements among all of my responses there.
Yeah, this like there is merit to having specific answers, but they should be step two, not step one.
Right. Okay. I see. Yeah. Again, I'm trying to go too deep into it without having a core plan again. Okay.
Yeah, so ambiguity is an issue, but there's step one to alleviate this. Step one is to have option coverage. You know, there's no need. Like you're. This is a classic case where you're working too hard. Like you're not.
Yeah.
This is like the 80-20 rule where you're only
Hmm.
doing 20% of the results for 80% of the work.
Right.
It's like that's
Yeah.
not what you want. You're
Got it
basically
the wrong way
studying.
around. Yeah.
Yeah. So step one is option coverage, and you want to ideally have one option that covers at least half of these options. And do you
Hmm.
know what I personally do?
Um.
Why I'm not afraid of Falco at the ledge.
No. What do you do, KoDoRiN?
Yeah. In order to
Okay.
cover double lasers and side B first and foremost, I shield.
Okay.
And to beat double lasers, if I react to the sound of the double lasers, I up B out of shield. I up B by the second
Um.
laser. And when I up B out of shield, that insta kills them. And I'm like,
Hmm.
cool. And then if they side B from the ledge, that's like, oh, cool. I didn't expect that, but since you just side B through my shield, I can wave dash, S smash, grab, or up B like you mentioned.
Okay.
So this has overlap. These two in particular,
I see. Okay.
where instead of crouch down tilt, this is really only good if they do like an extremely high double laser, which is
Yeah.
like so
That
rare and
yeah, that's
like
the
only
only time that I
reserved.
see it work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's like only like that's like step two. They're like trying to like really beat your shield up B out
Hmm.
of shield. So I would really advise that you do shield up B,
Okay.
where even like high double lasers, if you up B by the second laser, you could still kill them. It's only if they do like an extremely high one, where it's like, okay, maybe not, but at that point, you're like,
Hmm.
you're making it so obvious.
Okay.
And like,
So
yeah, shield is really
I
good. And in response to the ledge dash options, shield is still good because I mean, okay, sure, I'm not getting a direct hit off of it, but it's not like Falco has like a strong grab game, so shield is still fine.
yeah. Okay.
Like, okay, you ledge dash shine, you ledge dash up tilted me. That's still fine, you know. Like,
Hmm.
it's no different than like a lot of other shield pressure situations. And plus, if Falco's like shield ledge dash S smash or ledge dash up tilt, their invincibility is going to end, and you can often get a shield grab off of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Like, it might be 15 Galint, but it's not 50 Galint.
Hmm.
Um, so shield is still pretty strong against ledge dash.
Okay. Yeah. And if they up tilt, yeah, like you said, I could shield grab, and if they shine and they try to short hop, I could maybe nair them out of shield, for instance.
Yeah,
Or
you could light
okay.
shield. At the very least, you
Light
could light
shield.
shield and like
Yeah.
not make it so bad. And as for
Yeah.
side platform, you could shield, then way dash back, and then like aerial or like jump
Yeah.
back.
Yeah. Okay, because then Falco is above me, and he also has his back to the ledge, so it's still not a great position for him as long as I don't give him the opportunity to reversal me by sitting right underneath him.
Yeah, so I think just by the principle of option coverage, you could cover all those edge options.
Okay. All right. I should start trusting
Starting
my
starting a
shield
shield.
movement
Yeah,
more. Yeah.
starting a shield because um it covers an absurd amount of options. And
Okay.
it's not perfect versus the ledge dash and the side platform options. I'll point that out, but it
Mm-hmm.
automatically beats lasers and side B, like no
Yeah.
matter what.
Two
And in some
extremely common
conditions, it could be
options.
side
Yeah.
platform and ledge dashes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then even then, if I start covering their lasers and their side B more often, they might be convinced to actually go for the ledge dashes more often. And with how often Spaceys can throw away stocks as well, I could maybe even convince them to just throw away a stock for me.
Yeah. So that's
Mm-hmm.
step one. Is that it's just the basic option coverage stuff. Is that like
Okay.
are they just gonna automatically do this? At the
Mm-hmm.
lower levels, it's so common to see them do double lasers. Even still at a higher level, like they still do
Yeah,
that a crazy amount. So I mean, I'm still
definitely.
not stopping up being out of shield double lasers yet.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's not even stopping at top level, so that
Yeah.
just speaks to how strong of an option shield is.
Yep. If
Um,
it's good enough for top 100 players, it's good enough for me.
yeah, and that's the option coverage step. And then there's
Okay.
step two. The step two is kind of what you mentioned earlier. It's like, and then it becomes like baits,
Bait
mix
and
ups,
response. Yeah.
and so on.
Okay.
Because as I said earlier, shield is not perfect against ledge dash and side platform.
Yep.
So what you could do is set up a shield, and if they ledge dash or do some options that beats a shield well, you could then way dash back preemptively and then nair. Because what I
Yeah.
like doing to beat ledge dash, because Falco is not exactly fast or has like super strong moves off of ledge dash, and his range is kind of limited compared to
Mm-hmm.
Fox. I just like I like shielding within that range and then way dash back nair if I think they're gonna ledge dash. And same
Okay.
thing with side platform. I just preemptively jump.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. I do find myself getting hit, sometimes by like ledge dash down air, for instance. So yeah, definitely I'll try that shield wave dash back.
Yeah, the baits is then when your specific answers become better.
I see.
Because now you're trying to call out. Now you're
Yeah.
like being like, all right, this guy isn't falling for like the typical option coverage. Now I have to like come up with specialized answers against him.
Yeah, I was so focused on covering certain options that I forgot. I kind of forgot the human element of the ledge scenarios. I wasn't giving my opponent any reason that they would have to pick one option over the other because I wasn't threatening any of the other options, if that makes sense.
In a way, it would be easier to just have like one option that like could like that's very good against all of it, and then as they
Hmm.
try to like beat the option that beats everything, then you start being a little bit more interactive. But if they can't prove that they could beat step one, always do it.
Yeah. Okay.
Always do step one if they can't prove that they can't beat it.
Hmm.
And then step two is the human element.
Yeah.
That's it, like where you have to like bait them a little bit. You gotta mix them up because top players like Zayn and M2K like they can't edge guard Leffen all the time because
Right.
like he has specialized answers against like their option coverage. But
Yeah.
then then they mix it up.
Hmm.
But against like the unranked Falco, they're gonna edge guard them all the time because they can't beat
Yeah.
step one.
Okay. Cool.
So ambiguity. To recap, how would you resolve the ambiguity issue?
I'd resolve the ambiguity by committing to option coverage first,
Mm-hmm.
covering common options with shield, and then if they're able to show me that they're able to respond to that option coverage, that's when the baits and the mix-ups come in.
Yes. How do you feel about that? What do you think of that?
I like that a lot. It helps, like I said, with it'll help with my choice analysis, and it'll also help a lot with my spacing, so I kind of have a better idea of where I should be and what I should be doing, and the threat of that ambiguity feels lessened in my mind.
Yeah. And I'll say, like, this is a lot more straightforward with, like, punish game stuff, but this also applies to neutral. Like,
Yeah.
it also, like, you just throw out a move that covers most options, and then,
Hmm.
like, when they beat that, like, when they have that one counter to beat your generalized option, then, like, you start coming up with, the step two part.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
becomes very
Definitely.
interesting.
Yeah, I can already see how this could apply to my neutral game as well. I throw out so many nares in neutral, just because I find that gets me a lot of knockdowns. But then again, when that starts getting covered, I start to get a little bit flustered a bit because I have the step one there, but the neutral mix-ups are a little bit difficult too. But
Hmm.
before I really get into that, I want to be able to hammer down these advantage scenarios because I don't want to delve deep into the cavern of neutral if I can't even kill my opponent off of any of the openings I get.
For sure. So we pretty much discussed like the major parts of you know hitting Falco,
Yep.
especially out of his recovery, and the option coverage off the ledge options. Those are very useful to do, and once you apply those principles, you can probably kill Falco a little bit more often.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, those are good things. Good things that we talked about. Do you
Yep.
want to go to the analysis part, or you want to talk about the neutral stuff?
Um, Maybe we could go into the analysis and maybe see if we can apply some form of
Sure.
Actually, no, you know what? Let's talk about the neutral game.
Okay.
And then once we've got the theory of it down, maybe next lesson or something, we can go over the analysis and try to apply the things that I learn in this lesson.
Sure. It's your lesson.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I
yeah,
like that.
we got 20 minutes roughly to
Hmm.
talk about the neutral stuff. So let's get started with that.
Hmm.
So what are your immediate thoughts about the neutral game?
My immediate thoughts of the neutral game are that it is difficult. I do not like being able to get hit out of my dash dance at almost anywhere on the stage. Difficult, lol. Thanks, Kodo. Um, yeah, getting my dash dance stuffed kind of sucks. I find myself dash dancing a lot less in the matchup. Um, Simply because I feel like the neutral is heavily based around how I respond to Falco's lasers and how much or how little they decide to laser. Um, my primary objective when I play the neutral against Falco is to get a knockdown. I try to knock him down out of his laser so I can tech chase him, get an easy grab, and combo him for days to come and hopefully get him off stage. Um, And as I briefly mentioned earlier, my primary method of doing so is trying to space kind of close-ish or either call out an approaching laser with a neutral air. Since that knocks down relatively early, I don't have the exact percent in my mind, but I know it starts knocking down quite early.
Okay.
So I did used to prioritize power shielding a lot, but it didn't feel very consistent. Um, Due to the executional barrier, well, not the executional but the consistency of it, it's difficult to power shield consistently. And I find some Falcos are even able to work around it. Like sometimes I'd power shield a laser and they would end up jumping over that power shielded laser and I would get down aired into a combo, for instance. So I've kind of shifted away from that strategy recently.
Okay. Yeah, there's appropriate counterplay. Yeah,
Yeah,
so yeah, if you relied a lot of your movement in other matchups, it makes sense that you find it difficult in the Falco matchup because this matchup's
mhm,
really not about movement. It's more
yeah,
about how you zone and when you zone and
yeah,
when and more importantly when you use your movement despite it being limited because there is a time and place to move. It's just that it's not you're not using it as your primary tool.
yeah. Yeah, I definitely think that zoning is something that I struggle very much with. For most of my career, I was your typical like dash back grab kind of Marth, and the Falco matchup I struggled very much with because they don't bite. They're gonna laser you over and over and over and force you to operate in a much closer, more difficult space.
Okay, so let's talk about the power shield first because
Yeah,
in my opinion, um, the power shields is like the step one of what we talked about for option coverage. It's like
yeah,
if you could get this, it makes the matchup a lot easier.
yeah.
But obviously shouldn't be your only thing.
Hmm.
But let's talk about the part where you feel it's inconsistent because it might be an issue of technique. How do you power shield?
I crouch power shield. I try to crouch power shield. I've also started trying to do dash back power shields too. Um,
And how do you actually do it?
how do I actually? Well, I have a plugged R trigger, so I'm able to skip the light shield and able to go directly into the hard shield. So that's helped with the consistency a little bit. Um, but mainly I try to anticipate when they're going to laser, like time it with their short hop and make sure that I'm not in some kind of like wave dash lag, for instance. Um, but that gets much more difficult when you're much closer. I find the only times that I can successfully and consistently power shield is when the distance between me and the Falco is very great,
Mm-hmm.
and that doesn't
Yeah,
feel good to me because if I'm so far away and I'm power shielding their lasers, it's not like I can get anything off of it anyway because I'm so far.
yeah, that makes sense. So it's not an issue of like doing the power shield itself. I'm assuming, right?
No, no, I can definitely do the power shield. It's difficult to capitalize off of it. I have
Oh yeah, I
difficulty.
guess yeah. How do you weigh that
Yeah,
shout shield with it?
yeah. I struggle to move out of the power shield a lot too, and I think that's mainly an executional thing that I need to practice. I've been trying to incorporate wave dashing with L afterwards because doing the double tap with R is really hard and
Yeah, I
difficult.
don't do
So
that.
yeah, so I've been trying to grind power shields and then wave dashing with L after, and I'm starting to get it, but it still feels really bad right now. But I think that's another issue of again going into Uncle Punch and having a Falco shoot lasers at me.
Right. Yeah. So it makes sense that if you feel it's inconsistent and you can't even wave dash out shield consistently,
Yeah.
then that kind of defeats the point of the power shield, does it not?
Yeah. I end up rolling, and then the Falco is like, haha, because I rolled literally right on top of the Falco and they
Yeah, it's
get to
like,
show
oh, you
me.
just I thought I was at a disadvantage for a second, and you just did the work for me.
Yep. Yep.
So you need to practice this.
Yeah.
This just like grind it out. Really get
Hmm.
the execution down. Find out what you're doing wrong, and then implement what's supposed to be the right answer against that, and you'll do a little better
Hmm.
as time goes on. I do want to discuss this part where you anticipate the laser. You
Yep.
anticipate the laser by their short hop?
Like if I see them jumping, like if I see them doing a short hop, well, you can kind of anticipate the rhythm at which they shoot the lasers, if that makes sense, especially if they're shooting multiple lasers in a
It makes
row.
sense, but that's not how you anticipate lasers. That's gonna leave you very open to getting mixed up by just them doing like a short hop in there.
Yeah, that happens a lot, I can tell you right now.
Yeah, it makes
Yeah.
sense because you're anticipating it kind of wrong.
Okay.
This is more of the correct way to anticipate laser. You need to anticipate it by the sound.
Okay,
Not
by the sound of the gun coming out. Yeah.
Yes, not like the shore hop animation. If you
Okay.
anticipate it by the shore hop animation, you're gonna get tricked up more often than
Okay.
you should.
Yeah. I'm
And it makes sense that it's
yeah.
harder when it's closer because um just so many things could be happening, and when they're closer, that just makes the reaction so much harder. Like the human visual cues is it's fast, but it's not that fast.
Yeah.
And when you react by sound, it's actually faster by like few key milliseconds.
Yeah.
So when you react to sound, it's easier to do it closer.
Okay.
So that is something that you need to practice.
Okay.
Is
And
just react to the sound of the
mhm.
gun. And then they could still trick you, by the way. Like they could do like, a staggered laser, or they could do a laser that doesn't come out.
Yeah.
And what
Those
you could
lasers.
just way dash out shield anyways. Like
Yeah.
you're not stuck in the shield.
Hmm.
So, that does come back to the part where,
I
you
need
need to
to
really
grind
practice
out the
this.
OOS. Yep.
Yeah. Because getting crouch, like the stat in every summit where every time Zane fights a Falco, what's his most common opener?
Neutral B.
Yeah, neutral B.
Yeah.
It's his power shields.
Hmm.
And that kind of goes to show just how important crouch power shield. No, not crouch. Don't. You usually shouldn't do crouch. Dash
Okay.
back power shield is in this matchup.
Okay. So the dashback power shield is significantly better than the crouch. Okay. Because that's something that I would struggle with a lot too, is when trying to get those power shields, I'm trying to space myself in front of the Falco, but dash dancing doesn't feel great because of the lasers, wave dashing has a ton of lag. So I'd find myself putting myself in positions where I literally couldn't put up a shield. So I think I need to start focusing more on the dashback power shields.
Right. Yeah, and also like low lasers beats crouch power shield. Like you cannot power shield like the lower lasers,
Yeah.
whereas dash back power shield can. So I
Okay.
would also recommend you practice that. And not only should you practice the way dash out shield, you need to practice way dash out shield and action, like I don't know, way dash out
Yeah.
shield grab,
Yeah.
for instance, or like nair,
Hmm.
whatever.
Yeah.
Just practice that as well. Like you way dash out
Definitely.
shield grab, because doing that frame tie is also important, especially the closer you are against Falco.
Yeah.
And like they're gonna be stunned a little, and then you grab them.
Yeah.
And at the very least, at higher levels, they're not gonna always stand there. It's also an advantage.
Yeah.
You're creating pressure. You're in an advantageous situation. This is why power shield is important. And
Okay.
also, cool thing, also, by the way, one counterplay I've been doing against, like, when the Falco jumps over the power shield laser, I just double power shield. So, it's like, it's
You
still,
madman.
like, an advantage situation.
Yeah.
So, uh, it's not hopeless. Like, yeah, like, jumping over the laser is a counterplay, but that doesn't mean you also can't find a counterplay to that.
Okay.
So, anyways, so that is my first critique, is that you feel like it feels inconsistent, but there's obviously flaws with your execution and how you're power shielding it. Because
Okay.
the
Yeah.
reason why Zane is able to power shield so consistently is because he's reacting to the sound. He's reacting to something at least, because he does not get tripped up by like the aerial mix up.
Yeah.
Because I've seen him dash dance against Ginger, clearly looking for like the power shield against the laser, and when Ginger just aerialed at him, he did not shield. He just pivot grabbed because he's reacting.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
I mean, I've watched Zane play against the Spaceys, and I guess that's why I struggled in understanding what's occurring in those sets, because my foundational assumptions were incorrect. I thought that, it's the jump that you should be responding to, because in my mind it was like the earlier you respond, the better. But I'm just straight up reacting to the wrong criteria, and
Yes.
that's why I was kind of confused,
Yeah,
like watching
you
Zane. Like, what is he
mhm.
doing so differently?
Yeah,
Okay,
you just didn't understand the right formula. You saw the answers he was doing, but you just
yeah,
didn't get the right formula. You were like doing a flawed formula instead. That's why you
yeah.
didn't get the right results.
Okay, I see.
And the cool thing is that once you're power shielding a little bit more fluidly, that also means your movement becomes a little bit less stuffed, right?
Yeah,
Your dash dance becomes a little bit better because now they're uh they're
because I
thinking
can.
they're like hesitating to laser now. And
Yeah,
then
because if I
when
can prove to
mhm,
them that I can dash back power shield, then they'll be more hesitant to laser me while I'm doing dash dances.
right.
Okay,
So in my opinion, the power shield should be like your plan A.
got it. Okay.
But obviously the plan A is not going to work out. You know, they could also even find counter plays and such. So sometimes you're gonna have to take laser. That's
Yep.
like the plan B, take laser.
Hmm.
And I'm gonna ask you a question. On Uncle Punch, on the Power Shield event, where sometimes you could take laser, what frame do you typically move at?
What frame do I typically move at? I'm not great at moving out of lasers. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah,
I don't know exactly how quick I am, but I know I am slow.
yeah. It's not frame like you're not acting out at frame 1 or 2.
Oh no, definitely not. I'm probably like 5 or 6 frames late.
Yeah, that's probably what I was gonna guess is that you probably act like frame 5 ish, give or
Yeah,
take, and that's no good. That's
yeah,
you're always gonna get eaten by like laser aerial or laser shine.
yeah.
You
Especially when you're
gotta
going up against a frame one move. Yeah,
yeah. So at the same Uncle Punch Power Shield event, you can also just take the laser and it'll tell you what frame you acted at, and the
okay.
goal is to keep it at frame 2. Frame 2 is very good.
Frame two. Okay.
You know, maybe be a little lenient with frame 3 when you're
Hmm.
first starting off. You know, frame 3 is progress and it's still decent, way better than frame 5. So you
Yeah,
need to
definitely.
act at frame 1 or 2, but the goal should be somewhere between 2 to 3. Because I can act at like frame 1 or 2 pretty consistently, and that makes it so then you're harder to lock down.
Okay. I can definitely get to that. I have faith in myself that I can get to that point. I just kind of have to learn the timing on it and grind that out too. Yeah,
Yeah.
lots of Uncle Punch to go into this matchup for.
Yeah, of all the matchups where Uncle Punch is definitely the most beneficial, it's definitely the Falco matchup. Like that's not the
Yeah,
case for every matchup, as we kind of like talked about in our first
yeah,
3 lessons, but this one is where Uncle Punch. It's definitely like there's definitely a matchup that values execution a lot, that values like the straightforward grinding. It's this one, and
yeah,
if you
definitely.
practice the power shields, the take laser, that way you're ultimately harder to lock down because Falco at the end of the day he wants to lock you down.
Yeah,
And if you're not giving him that, you're gonna make him work so much harder.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's definitely something that I gotta grind out. And I think that's also why I don't particularly like the Space C matchups that much because one, I suffer from the choice paralysis. Two, I'm not confident in the choices that I am aware of, and then three, I have all of this incorrect foundational knowledge as well, where I'm trying to respond to the wrong like wrong cues
Mm-hmm.
basically. Okay.
Yeah. So discussing a little bit about neutral, what do you think is the takeaway here?
The takeaway here is that I need to power shield more, but not just more. I need to power shield correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And that should be my step one because it is where I'm going to get a lot of my openings from, and I need to make sure that I'm responding to the correct cue of the sound of the laser rather than the jump itself. And then lastly, I also, barring that, if the power shields aren't working out for me and I start instead going for
Well, before you move on,
yeah.
what's the other thing you're messing up with power shields?
Oh, the movement out of the shield itself.
Yes, wave dash out shield. And
Yep.
you do an action.
Wave dash out a shield into an action, and then if I have to go to a plan B and start doing the take laser stuff, that's when I have to be sure that I'm confident in my out of laser movement.
Yeah, it's also like the mix up as well.
and also the mix up. Yeah.
Yeah, taking
Okay.
laser is key. Like I could tell you all like the take laser stuff, but if you're acting out of it frame 5 every time, it's actually next to pointless of
Yeah.
whatever option I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'm almost positive that that's a huge issue in this matchup for me as well, as I'm trying to go for the take laser stuff, but I'm just so slow moving out of it.
yes, and we do live in the era of UCF, so dashback is so much more viable.
Yeah.
There's once upon a time without UCF, take laser dashback was like RNG.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I was still quite new pre UCF era, but I do remember especially trying to chain grab, for instance, getting lots and lots of consistent turnarounds.
Oh,
Yeah.
how how blessed you were.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah. So as for the take laser, there's stuff like take laser dash back, um, take laser jab and side B to
Yeah.
beat approaching lasers, and uh, you could also jump, take laser as well. Do
Yeah.
you have questions on when you're supposed to use those options?
I know that take laser is good, but I don't know kind of like the positioning. I guess of the distance between me and the Falco where take laser is a viable option because I think to myself, okay, I could take a laser, um, but again, I'm not sure how much room I should allow between me and the Falco for that to be an effective option. And then it's further compounded because I'm also slow acting out of the take laser situation. So I feel like, I'm not sure if I'm positioning myself well and executing incorrectly, or if I failed the take laser punish because I was positioned incorrectly.
Yeah, so let's take this a little bit more simplified, where you are acting as soon as you can, and a little bit less on positioning, and let's focus on what they're like the action that they're doing. So
Okay.
they did what do you think take laser sword is good? Like take laser jab, take laser side B, jump, and then take the laser fair. What do you think that's exactly really good?
I would guess that's really good when the Falco lasers and they land in front of me, but not on top of me. Like they basically laser, but they have to do like another jump immediately after to get the follow up off of the laser.
And what else is that really good against in particular?
What else is that also really good against? Uh, are we going back to the double laser?
No.
Or oh no hitbox?
Yeah, because laser does not exactly have a hitbox until
Oh yeah,
frame
because it, it's
15.
it, yeah, okay.
So you kind of implicitly got it, where you know that take like you know swatting your sword in some way is going to hit Falco without a
Yeah.
hitbox. Like
Yeah.
they kind of just jump at you without a hitbox, or they do an approaching laser.
Yeah.
Doing a take laser jab, for instance, will beat an approaching laser if they do a laser and an approaching laser.
Yeah.
What about
Okay.
take laser move?
Take laser move is good if they do have a hitbox. Like if they do laser and then they try to come in with a down air, for instance, I can dash back out of that and pivot grab or yeah. Pivot grab I think would be the best option there.
Yeah, I will warn you that this can be like tricked very easily, but
If they
so you
do
shouldn't
make
always do a pivot grab out of it, but you
Mhm.
can move.
Yeah.
Like they could, for instance, they could do a laser and then like a slightly fade back dare to beat the pivot grab. But
Oh
what
yeah.
you could do, it's still using movement, is like you could take the laser, dash back, then dash in, and then dash back again.
Yeah.
So then it looks like you're about to do a pivot grab, but then
Hmm.
like you bait out their
They down
you're
there.
you're trying to counter bait their bait if you
Yeah.
got what I just said.
Yeah.
But
No, no, definitely.
most of the time, they're just gonna do it approaching there. Like even
Yep.
at the very high levels,
Hmm.
like they still do the unranked Falco dare.
Hmm.
So that's when take laser, dash back, pivot grab is good if they like start to put out a hitbox.
Okay.
AKA moves that are not a laser.
Yeah. Definitely. Okay. That makes sense.
So those are like in general. There's some exceptions. There's obviously, weird quirks in some spots. But in general, these are when you should like use like take laser jab or like take laser dash.
Okay. So it's kind of a 50-50 then when they take laser if they're going to laser or if they're gonna throw out a hitbox.
Yes. And with a sword, you're definitely taking more of a commitment.
Yeah.
And move is safer.
Yeah. It's safer, but then I also run the risk of potentially getting locked down by another laser, and then I've lost a lot of positioning as well.
Yeah, so if you've been doing a lot of like take laser jabs, then like take laser dash back becomes a lot stronger.
Yeah.
Because then because if you take laser jab too much, like they could just stuff it out with like a dare, because dare will probably just beat jab. So then if they're so used to beating your jab with dare, then that's like when your dash back becomes really good. And that's like, kind of like conditioning stuff of like, basic neutral stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is like the plan B or the mix up after like your power shields like kind of don't work consistently. So what's the takeaway here of the take laser mix up stuff?
So the take laser mix up, first of all, I need to get good at moving out of the laser hit stun before I'm able to really go any further than that. And then there are two main scenarios that I have to be aware of after the take laser, where the Falco decides to throw out a hitbox or not after the laser. If they decide to not throw out a hitbox, i.e. do another laser, that's when I can use my sword to stuff them and, create an advantage situation for me. If they do decide to throw out a hitbox, that's when dash back, pivot grab, and then further mix-ups compounding from there come into play.
Yes. And also, just to also maybe give a little bit of an asterisk, this move also, take laser move is also not just good against like, dare approach, but also when they are starting to move themselves. Like they do a laser then dash dance. You could like also take the laser and also like move in if you want.
Okay.
As well, for
like
just in case, just in case they start doing like laser in place dash back. You could like take space with your take laser as well.
Okay.
So it's not limited to just like dare approaches. It also could be an opportunity to put on pressure if they're retreating after the laser.
Got it. Okay.
So just encapsulating that situation as well, because that will pop up. Anyways, we talked about a good amount. Yes, do you have any questions on what we talked about?
Yeah, you know what? No, I don't think I do. We covered everything that I was concerned about and even more. So, very informative. It very much emphasized to me the importance of execution in this matchup and how nuanced those situations can be. And how it doesn't matter, how good my game plan is if I'm not able to execute off of it. So
yeah.
I'm definitely going to be spending a lot more time in Uncle Punch, really hammering out these scenarios we discussed.
This definitely will give you the most returns.
Yeah.
Of practice. And I will give you some bullet points over in Discord. So 1, practice priming against side B with double jab. Sometimes you can jump fair. If you don't feel like you're executing plan A, plan B is to use neutral B. 2, option coverage is a way to go against ledge mix-ups. Shield covers shield hard counters two options, such as double laser and side B, and soft counters the other two options, the ledge dash and platforms. Once they demonstrate that they can beat your options, once they can demonstrate that they could beat your option coverage, then you move on to baits and counterplays with specific options. The third bullet point is that in order to be more consistent and making parashields more reliable, you must anticipate the laser through the sound, not the animation. You must also practice the way dash out of shield and do an action out of it, like grab. 4. To take laser effectively, you must be able to act out of it frame 2 to 3 at least, in order to make the option viable. 4A, take laser sword, like jab, beats no hitbox approaches, like laser. Yeah, like laser. 4B, take laser move, like dash back, beats immediate hitbox approaches, and can set up for other things, for other scenarios, like they're waiting and applying pressure from it. All right, anything to note?
No, very, very comprehensive. I definitely feel a lot better, in my mind of being able to prepare myself to cover, the ledge options. The neutral definitely makes a lot more sense to me now, rather than just running around and throwing out nares and hoping one of them knocks down. Yeah, no, this definitely helps a lot.
All right, I'm glad this has helped you out. Feel free to ask me any questions, and I'll see you around next week.
Yep, sounds good. Yeah, most likely next Saturday. Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, bye.
All right, bye-bye.